So ever since The Incredible Hulk came out, and then ultimately he was recast instead of Edward Norton, we got Mark Ruffalo, there's been a divide in the MCU between what version of the Hulk they wanted to see in the MCU and what we got. Now in this video, we're going to be talking about the Hulk's future and what Mark Ruffalo thinks would be a great approach to telling the Hulk stories in the MCU. So obviously we don't know if we'll ever get The Incredible Hulk 2 or what the future for the character holds up until official announcements are made. Recently we've discussed the fact that more than likely he has a TV future and a film future where he's a supporting character, which could expand into something that involves the Hulk even more than we've had previously. But again, everything is still unknown. Now recently Mark Ruffalo did sit down with outlets, he got to talk about stuff, and he was asked about the future of the Hulk, potential, appearances, and of course a movie sequel, aka The Incredible Hulk 2, if they were to go that route. And obviously while Mark Ruffalo wouldn't spill the beans and details on what he knows, because obviously he likes his job and he knows it's guaranteed for at least another decade or so, he did reveal that to him, something he wants to explore and something that he's had on his mind and that's been part of the conversation is what has the Hulk done between his appearances? Where was he? What was he doing? Where was the Hulk between the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron? What happened to him between the Incredible Hulk and the Avengers, right? Like, where is his story in those days? And if you start thinking about it that way, I think what he's saying is he would like one of these stories that's sort of shaping up to be like how the Black Widow looks like it's going to be, which that film looks like it's about 3 different time periods. Something like that, where maybe they could explore the Hulk into what he was doing between these major appearances in his own personal story. Now again, there are Hulk leftovers out there in the MCU that you could focus on, like the Leader, for example. What if, up until he appears in the Avengers, what if the Leader was after him? What if after the Avengers to Avengers Age of Ultron, he was trying to follow up clues and then he ended up fighting the Leader, and they just never addressed that because again, apparently Black Widow is never going to address that she fought Taskmaster, right? And there she was during Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. So again, you don't necessarily have to mention these stories because, again, if the Avengers weren't involved directly, who really cares? And I think there is something to this, and, who really knows if we're ever going to get it? Now, there is that chance that maybe, just maybe, they could do something like that and involve some of these stories somewhere with the Hulk. Like maybe in She-Hulk they'll explore some element of one of these missing time gaps, and there is a chance that maybe there's a Hulk TV series that could address this, because as we know, and as they've said before, when Guillermo del Toro was hired to write the Hulk script, which at that time they were planning a Hulk TV series right after the Avengers, it was a story that filled in the gap of what happens when he gets his powers and he's on the run when we catch up to him in The Incredible Hulk, and then it was going to fill in some of the details of The Incredible Hulk to the Avengers. So again, I think they want to explore some of these elements, but they're being very careful with what they say because plans always change. So ultimately, The Incredible Hulk 2, they have some ideas, but studios have to work together to make it a reality. So who knows if it's ever going to happen and what they'll do, but it sounds like they got some pretty solid direction at least to take it in. Especially if you want a more savage Hulk, you could get it if it's in those years where, well, he didn't really have control.